way to accomplish that would have been not to kidnap him in the first place. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
You testified that Mr. Morrison asked you, when you were back at Rick C. store, basically you could have just run away, and I think your answer was, oh gosh, yes. You could have run away at any time? Is that your testimony?
Yes, I could have.
To what end would you have run away?
It would have served no purpose.
Right, exactly. Where would you have gone?
Right.
You're in the middle of nowhere, correct?
Right.
Your
Small
car is broken down in the parking lot. It's registered to you.
Yes.
You probably realize there's video of Rick C. store that's probably already captured you there, right?
I didn't pay any attention to that.
The police were possibly on the way already.
Yes.
There was nowhere for you to go. That's the reason you didn't run, right? Not because you didn't have anything to hide, you were caught.
No, I just chose not to do anything but stand there waiting for the police.
But you tried, you said that you wanted to make sure that Billy Barger couldn't get to Jeff Muller, right?
Yes.
Why the El Dorado lie?
I had to
What was the
think,
purpose of that?
I had to think of something quick to cover for sworn.
If you want Jeff Muller to be safe, the best thing that could happen to him was for the police to get there, correct?
Yes.
Why the lie?
I figured they'd be there anyway.
Why? You did, it was your testimony. You told them, no need to call the police. You don't have to. He's
Right.
just a friend. We're taking him to the hospital. Why are you trying to salvage the situation if you really want to help him?
I didn't know what to do.
That's the answer.
I'd never been in a position like that ever before in my life.
I know. I'm just trying to get at, are you trying to help Jeff Muller, or are you trying to salvage the situation and cover yourself?
I'm trying to make sure nothing gets sent to Billy Barger to protect my son too.
Let's talk about that, because you said that you didn't think that Billy was at the house, so you could get your son hid and safe, and also your dad hid and safe, because Billy Barger wouldn't be at the house.
Yes.
Was your son living at the house at the time?
No.
Was your dad living at the house at the time?
No.
So what difference did that make, whether Billy Barger was or was not in the house?
Because he still knew where my son and my dad were.
Well, he still would have known where they were if he was in the car, too,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
Reconcile that. How does that make any sense?
I would have had time to get in touch with Derek's mother and dad and get together and get out of town.
Exactly, right? You would have had time. So what happened when you called Derek's mother while you were at Rick C. store in the parking lot, and when you called your son to make sure that they got out of the area? You didn't, did you?
I didn't from Rick C. store, no.
Right. You had a lot of friends in law enforcement in Nevada, right?
Yes.
Pretty close friends, right? You served as vending machines.
More acquaintance, you know, I knew them, they knew me, but not so much that we went and had dined together or anything.
And the only reason you didn't go to any of these acquaintances, these numerous police officers that you knew, was because Billy Barger told you not to?
Yes.
How would he have known?
He said I was being followed.
You were being followed. And were you? I mean, I think you know you were being followed.
I believed I was.
How?
For instance, Joplin is 60 miles away. I'd go there, it was the nearest Sam's Club, to get supplies for the vending machines. I'd get a text message from him while I was at Sam's, would say, while you're there, pick up some whatever and whatever and whatever, you're out at the house.
If you left your house, how far is it to the Vernon County Sheriff's Office?
At the time, 2 miles.
2 miles, right?
Yes.
All right, so you come out of your house, you're able to see if anybody's following you, right?
Yes.
You come out of your driveway, you go down your street.
Yes.
If you get to the sheriff's department, when you get to the end of your street, if you go left or right,
Follow a curve around and go to the right.
you'd be able to see if somebody was following you, correct?
Probably.
If you went just a mere 2 miles to the Garner County Sheriff's Department where all your acquaintances are, people you've known, you would know if you were followed, wouldn't you?
No. Because there's other side streets and whatever.
And is it your testimony that you would follow, what is it, about 1,200 miles from Nevada to Newton, New Jersey?
Yes.
Follow the whole way and back?
He knew exactly where we were at all times.
That's because you were communicating with him, wasn't it?
Well, that and he would send a text message, now that you're to whatever location, what is the package doing? Or different things like that.
You realize now nobody was following you, right?
Yes, yes, of course.
You thought Billy Barger was Sonny Barger's son because that's what he told you?
Yes,
And then you ultimately realized that he wasn't who he said he was because that's what somebody told you, right? Kim Hunter and then both, I guess it was Deputy Schlup.
yes,
So you engaged in this kidnapping, all of this criminal conduct that you testified to, simply because of what people were saying to you?
yes. And the threat.
And Kim Hunter said there's proof, right, that Billy Barger isn't who he said he was because he doesn't even have a son, right?
Yes,
Let's talk about Sonny Barger for a minute. Sonny Barger has been the face of the Hells Angels for decades, correct?
yes,
Primarily what he does now, and what he's done for a long time, he writes books, correct? Right? There are websites, if you were to Google his name, you'd be able to learn all about him, right?
I never have, but yes,
Yeah, you know how to use a computer, right?
yes,
You know what Google is, don't you?
yes,
You could have verified that for yourself simply by Googling his name, that he didn't have any children. If you read his biography, you could have learned that he didn't have any children.
I was told not to ever look him up on the computer at all.
Did you find that odd? Didn't you find that odd? Why wouldn't you be allowed to? Didn't Billy have some pride in his father and who his father was?
Oh, he did, he represented that, yes.
Sure. Why wouldn't he want you to read about his dad?
Because it would attract attention to why would I be looking him up? And that they would know as soon as you did access it, who was the one in the computer that was looking at it.
Ms. Marston asked you about the various statements that you made, so let's start off. I'm just going to come up here, so I'll probably be talking about these a little bit. This is S-174, that's your handwritten statement, correct? Here's the transcript of your January 18th statement.
Okay.
Transcript of your January 14th statement. Right now, just put this up. It's not the wrong copy, but this is your January 28th statement. This we need to use. Judge, for the record, January 14th is marked S-171. January 18th is S-173. The handwritten statement is S-174. Now, you've listened to the audio recording of your January 14th statement, right? We played that here in the courtroom.
Yes,
That was your voice on
Yes.
that audio recording? You said all those things that we listened to, correct?
yes,
The handwritten statement that's up there with you right now,
yes,
that's a copy of what you wrote, correct? Correct? That's your handwriting right there?
yes,
And the remaining two statements by you were January 18th and then also June of 2010, correct?
yes,
And they were video statements, and obviously that was you on the video, correct?
yes,
All those things that we watched, you said all those things.
yes,
Now, the first statement to law enforcement was January 14th, 2010, right?
yes,
So you had 5 days or so after your arrest to think about what you wanted to say to the police. Is that true?
That's the day I learned that Billy Barger was a fraud.
Yes, sir. My question is, you had 5 days to think about what you wanted to say. Is that correct?
No,
You did?
that's as soon as I learned that Billy Barger was a fraud.
So up until that time, you weren't planning on speaking to the police?
No, I didn't know what to do.
Okay. So the next statement then is on the 18th.
Yes,
So at that point, you had 4 days now, I guess, to think about what you wanted to say to the police.
yes,
And the purpose of that second interview on the 18th was basically to add anything that you wanted about Billy Barger and this supposed friend.
there was so much that had went on in the previous 6 months that, yes,
And on that day, you also had an opportunity to write out anything that you wanted. You weren't limited in any way, right?
no,
Then going to June 28th, 2010, you provided another statement.
yes,
And that was here in New Jersey. And now we're talking several months, 5, 6 months after your arrest. So you've had 5 to 6 months to think about what you wanted to say, right? Now, you understood it was important to tell the truth to the police in all
Yes.
those statements? You understood it was important to be as complete as possible in all of those statements?
yes,
And were you truthful in all of
Yes.
those statements?
yes.
And did you leave out or omit anything significant or substantial in those statements?
Not that I can remember now.
So, just before the lunch break, let's talk about an area that I think that maybe everybody can agree on. Billy Barger is a pretty bad guy, correct?
Yes,
Would you say he's an evil man?
yeah, manipulating, yes, very, very persuasive.
Persuasive. You stated that after the Charles Lamel home invasion, that Billy Barger was mad at you because you were not hard enough on Charles Scoundrel, correct? Billy Barger, he knew that you had killed the Scoundrel's dogs. He knew that you had shot Charles Scoundrel. He knew that they were tied up, they had guns pointed at him. And yet, according to Billy Barger, you weren't hard enough on him. Is that right?
Yes,
That's who Billy Barger is.
yes,
And he was mad because you didn't kill him.
yes,
You don't leave live witnesses. You testified to that
Yes.
today.
that's what he said.
Billy Barger told you about various people that were disappearing, right? He talked to you about a person who owned a rival dish company that disappeared. Do you remember that?
Yes,
A person named Keone, am I pronouncing that right?
yes,
That person had disappeared or was killed, and something to the effect that he died before he ever hit the bridge or
Yes.
something like that.
that's what he claimed, yes.
He talked to you about an older couple and Adrian disappearing. And with respect to all these disappearances, he was implying to you that he had killed these people, right?
Yes, or had arranged for it to be done,
He told you that he was capable of anything.
yes,
He told you that he killed 237 people.
yes, that is the number,
And you didn't mind going for 238.
not wrong, yes, he said that many times.
All these different things that he said to you, you knew him for 12 years. When did he say those things to you?
After the scale incident, when he seen that there was hesitation, and he was being more, you've got to do this or I'll do,
So this all started kind of later in
yes,
your relationship with him.
yes,
Here's my question to you. This person who said he killed 237 people, didn't mind going for 238, the person who said you should have killed the scoundrels, you don't leave live witnesses. This is the person that you're bringing Jeff Mueller back to.
that's why I was not going to let him get back to that man.
But for that car breaking down, which you had no control over, that's exactly where you would have wound up. Explain that. And we'll talk about that because that's in your statement. That had that car not broken down,
Mhm.
you would have.
Yeah, that's the best thing that could possibly happen.
Right, but it's by happenstance. It's by an act of God.
Yes,
Nothing you did got lucky.
No, but it's the answer that solved the problem.
Exactly. Jeff Mueller saw your faces, right?
Yes.
You know what type of car you had, Jeff Mueller?
I'm sure he probably did.
With the Scammell home invasion, you guys were all wearing ski masks, right?
Yes.
Didn't do anything to really try to hide your identity here, did you?
No.
Billy was upset because you don't leave live witnesses. Jeff Mueller, he's a witness, isn't he?
Yes.
Is there any question in your mind, but for the grace of God, but for that car broken down, what would have happened to Jeff Mueller? You know he would not.
I would have never let him get in contact with Billy.
How would you have prevented it? What would you have done? And if you were to do something between Rick C. Store and Nevada, why didn't you do it before?
I had the idea in my mind, and I never talked to anyone about it.
When did that idea pop into your head?
Well, I had an idea in my mind before we ever got to the meeting in Clearfield, Pennsylvania, that I knew who the chief of police was at the next town, Du Bois, Pennsylvania, and where the police station was located. Instead, I would have drove off from them and pulled right into that police department and hopefully been able to get a hold of my son in the meantime before Barger.
Remember that part in the very beginning of our discussion here today, when I said to just leave anything material out of any of those four statements that are up with you? Show me, and we can take all the time in the world, show me where that is in any of those statements.
I never said it in any statement.
We're hearing about that for the first time today, 5.5 years after the event.
I could verify it if you'd like, but I know who the chief of police is in Du Bois, Pennsylvania.
After having 6 months to think about what you wanted to tell the police, after not being limited in any way, shape, or form, why is it that you didn't tell the police that?
I just wanted to keep a couple people's names out of things.
Who you wanted to keep the chief? Whose name did you want to keep out of things?
Okay, Rod Fairman is the chief of police of Du Bois, Pennsylvania.
Why would he be upset if he was involved as a possible savior of the victim? Why would he be upset about
Not
that?
if he could have saved him. No, there wouldn't have been a problem. But if you could verify with him that he knows who I am, and he knows who my ex-wife is after Tammy.
I'm not really concerned about verifying whether he does or does not know you. I'm more concerned about verifying your claim that you were going to go there. Why didn't you? Why didn't you go there? You did pass there, didn't you?
Yes. I
Didn't you
want
just
to-
say that your plan was to go there?
If there would have been anybody to try to make contact with us in Clearfield, Pennsylvania, yes. That was my idea for that particular area.
Well, why did that make a difference? Your plan was to let him go. What difference did that make?
Because I would not let him get in contact with these other Hells Angels. That was my
Wait.
idea I had in my head.
That was after Clearfield, though, so you're going to drop him off to the Hells Angels.
That was before. I was not going to turn him over or let him be turned over at Clearfield, Pennsylvania.
I thought your testimony was that you were waiting in a parking lot for over an hour to hear from Billy Barger that you were in Clearfield and you were about to make the drop, right?
It's 45 minutes to an hour, yes. But no one came.
Sir, I'll give you the lunch break to think about your answer here. We'll come back to that.
I know exactly.
Well, explain it to me. I don't understand. You said you were going to drop him off.
Yes.
You were going to take Jeff to the chief of police rather than go to Clearfield.
If the real Hells Angels would have showed or appeared, whatever you want to call them, then I would have took off and drove away from them and go right straight to the police department.
Because you knew Jeff Mueller would be killed in Clearfield, right?
I had no idea what would happen, but I didn't want to risk that.
But it
I'd
was
be
okay.
involved in that.
But it was okay to bring him back to Billy Barger.
No, I never would have delivered him to Billy Barger.
Again, why didn't you stop him?
I didn't know what to do.
I think I'm going to have us take our lunch break and then resume at 1:30 or